CREWCast. 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 Give it up for the CREWCast!
I'm amazed I can still do cartwheels, to be honest.
Yeah, he is back.
Yes.
But do you want to explain to the people why you've disappointed them?
Well, there's many reasons why I've
Yeah,
disappointed
but there's,
them.
there's three very good reasons why you disappointed them.
So many to choose from.
Yeah. One is no fake boobs, and you've still got a penis.
Well, you know, the op got delayed, so...
Unbelievable.
I know.
I
Sorry,
promised
guys.
them the reason you were off was sex change. And look what you've done. You come back, you've offended them, you've offended the trans community, you've offended so many people.
There was
Because
some
look at you,
delays.
there with you, white male privilege, keeping it. Like,
They couldn't get the breast implants large enough for me. They were
couldn't
trying
get the biggest one.
They were trying to get them imported, and there was just some weight restrictions on it, and got caught by customs. They're holding it for a bit.
Did you want them under the muscles when they're like, bro, you're too jacked to have it under the muscle?
That's exactly what they said.
We have to delay it.
Yeah, and then, with the whole operation of splitting the penis, they were like, there's not enough penis to split. It's like,
It's really girthy, but not long enough, so you'd have to have a really wide, short vagina.
that's
You'd be like a
literally-
slut who
that's-
couldn't do anything.
Yeah, that's exactly what they were telling me. And I was like, I don't care, I want it anyway.
The mangina.
Yeah.
A wide mangina.
Yeah. Oh. Well, thanks for telling everyone that.
Yeah,
Appreciate
you're
that.
welcome. No, well, honesty is key.
Exactly, yeah. Honesty is the best policy. I don't want to delay. I just want to get a little bit of alcohol in me, to be honest. I'm still a little bit flued up.
Yeah, if I didn't have a blackout, I cut it out. I chose to. If not, all we did was open a Glenfiddich 12-year-old's little miniature, and I said that it was sweet because I'm a full-grown adult male.
Yeah, sweet as in cute.
That's so lovely. But it would make a really nice stocking filler. You can see it on there. But the bottle is as the actual big bottle is, and it comes in this little container, little tube. So it's all like it looks high end, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks exactly the same as the big bottle, just
literally
small.
shrunk down.
Yeah,
What I was saying is, I wish the miniatures put little corks in because it'd be cool. And then I said it'd make a sweet little gift, and then having a little cheeky one. Oh, look at that! Isn't it nice?
Yeah.
So there's actually quite a nice. And then you said,
Yeah, there's got to be an advent calendar for like whiskey lovers, and it's
Yeah.
just literally a load of little miniature whiskies. Surely that exists, right?
I swear, like I had something last year that was something whiskey based.
I'll have a look.
It was definitely liqueurs.
Yeah. I'll get you a whiskey when you get me a rum one. There we go.
Okay, I'll hunt one down.
Yeah, job's a goose.
So 12 years aged Glenfiddich single malt against Lewis's couldn't
Fireball.
be cheaper.
Ignite the night.
Fireball. It's not even liqueur. I don't even know what that is.
It's
It's basically
Tastes good.
it's like party juice.
oh, hold on. I'll remember this. Smooth liqueur.
It's got a devil on the front. It's
whiskey with
it's
a
high
fiery
quality.
kick of red hot cinnamon. Tastes like heaven, burns like hell.
It's basically the sweets you used to have as a kid. Those were red. They came in a yellow packet and they were red ball
But it's so
sweets.
fucking
They were
good.
tasty, man. But that literally tastes like those sweets. That's dangerous stuff. That stuff is 15 years old. Got hold of it. You're all going to throw up later.
Yeah, you're all getting hammered. And
100% going to throw up. Especially the one who thinks it's tasty and starts drinking it like it's literally candy juice.
it is though.
It is candy juice, yeah. Do you remember the first time you ever got drunk?
No,
Mine was on
too
whiskey.
I remember the first time I got like. Was it the first time?
That is good. That is really good.
I remember one time I drank. Those. Are they 2 litre bottles of Strongbow?
Oh,
the big
they
bottles
were,
of
they were
Strongbow.
at least a litre. I did think they were 2 litres.
I was still at primary school and I got hold of a bottle of that and over the course of the night drank it.
Over the course of the night, that's pretty, keeping it
Well, I was
keeping it steady. Fair play.
It
Most
was,
people would be.
Well, it was probably a couple hours. It was.
there you
I was at fucking primary school, so I wasn't out
Bloody hell.
But everyone I hung around with, they were all a few years older, so they were early secondary school, and I just remember throwing up in the toilet in the at my mum's old house. There was the main bathroom was downstairs, but then upstairs was just a single toilet, just a small little toilet and a sink. That's all it was. You couldn't really get in there, but I'd I fell asleep with my head in the bowl, and then my mom came in the middle of the night and just put a blanket over me, but left me there. I woke up, my jaw was like around the back of my head because I've been like lying like that all night. Oh, absolutely horrendous.
Did you get punished?
No, she was really chilled. She probably bought me. She probably bought it me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I used to. Yeah, it was very, very relaxed childhood.
Yeah, sounds like
I was allowed to drink.
Well, how old were you then?
I was definitely. It was tail end of primary school, so
So mine was the same,
11-ish,
but mine was a
maybe.
different level. So tail end of primary school, friends' parents went out. We all went round to his house. There was about 8 of us, and then somebody thought it was a clever idea to like have a little slug of the whiskey from his dad's cabinet. I can't remember what it was. I really can't. I wish I could remember exactly what it was, but it was. It was definitely something worth some money because I'll tell you what, we'll find out later. So we were all having the swigs of this whiskey, obviously, and we were drinking because we were kids. We were doing like orange juice swigs.
Yeah,
you know what you do, like burns, and then proceeded to pull his sofa into the middle of the living room and then hurdle it back and forth for no reason whatsoever, just running and hurdling the sofa.
Yeah.
Because there's probably 2 girls there, and that was how you impressed them at 12 years old.
Yeah,
you ran and jumped over stuff
Look at my
fast.
athleticism.
Yeah, check out my athleticism. And then slugged another bit of whiskey after you'd done 4 or 5 jumps to probably, I don't know, some kind of jungle music.
Yeah.
And so this carried on for probably the early hours of the evening until his parents started to come back. And then I remember it was still light when I was walking home. So it could have been summer, so it must have been before 10-ish. It was probably more like 8, 9 o'clock heading back. And but prior to going back, we'd gone through a bit of this whiskey.
Yeah.
And his dad was, you know when someone's dad isn't cool?
Yeah.
And they're a bit of a hard ass, but not in a cool way. Not like hard ass, but also takes you out to shoot stuff with a bow and arrow.
Yeah, a bit like just dull.
He was just a dull, cardigan wearing dick.
Yeah.
And
everything was just serious.
yeah. And I won't say who it is, but that person whose son it is, who had some real gifted athletic ability, has grown up to be a
What, in terms of like
melty
jumping sofas, like freaky well?
No, he was freaky, and like he was muscly at like 11, 12 years old, like had big thigh, like muscled split thighs and stuff at 12. Like he should have been doing something like rugby or football. Like he should have 100%. That should have been his focus. Like they should have dialed him into doing that. And because his dad was a fat cardigan wearing dick. Not like obese fat, just like
he just did
sits
nothing.
in a chair, goes to work, comes back, sits in a chair, like and grumpy all the time. Even the dog was a dick. Like it was a Springer Spaniel that used to nip everyone, and nobody put the fucker down.
All right.
Yeah, horrible thing it was. I always feel like they're the people that make other people hate dogs as well. Like people who don't like dogs, it's because you met someone who was a dick with a dick dog.
Yeah.
It's not. Dogs are awesome. How can you
Yeah.
not like dogs? Like they love it. Your dog's downstairs right now.
Yeah.
Your giant hellhound is downstairs now, snoring it up like a little 2-year-old baby. Just
Yeah, 5 months old, but he does not look like he's a baby, right?
been here 2 hours. He's lost a tooth. He's bit an elephant in the face. He's had some raw meat, and now he's snoring. He's a good time.
Yeah, he's like 35 kilos already.
he's the size of a Labrador.
Yeah.
And he's how old?
Just at 5.5 months-ish, something like that.
It's ridiculous. He's already the size of most people's full-grown dogs. And he's still got a good, another...
Oh, he'll double in weight. He'll get to a minimum of 70 kilos.
How long is that going to take?
That'll probably take him till like 2.
2?
Yeah.
Well,
maybe 2.5.
We'll get back to the hellhound. So prior to leaving, what we did, we noticed that Dick Dad's whiskey was noticeably now lower.
God.
Like, how are we going to... Yeah. So we filled it up with water. Which to the eye doesn't make it look any different.
Yeah.
So as kids, we were like, visual problem solved.
Yeah.
There'll clearly be no comeback from this.
They're never going to drink this.
Never, ever, ever. Even though his dad is a dick and sits in a chair every single night, probably doing the same thing, probably taking a measuring stick to his bottles to check that nobody's had anything.
Yeah.
So, I went home that night, was completely fine walking. Mum seemed overly joyed that I seemed very jolly.
Yeah.
I promptly went up to bed and then threw up everywhere, like in probably a few hours later. Like full on, and it came up purple, which is weird because I don't remember eating anything purple. Mum thought I was sick, and I was like, "Yeah, definitely must have caught something so sick." Because when I came in, I must have been like,
cooked chicken strips and
At 12, we shouldn't have been cooking
Yeah, that's me why.
I've had a bad fizzy straw.
Dave was cooking chicken strips and they were frozen in the middle.
We had some fairy sticks that were clearly from last Halloween. But apparently I must have gone in, like, nailed it, because she was just no clue.
Yeah.
And I was totaled.
Yeah.
Like, ran home. You know when you're running, and you know when you were drunk at uni, you ran everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after hurdling the sofa for 45 minutes, I then ran home, got home. She was probably used to me coming home sweaty or muddy, so it probably wasn't out of the ordinary. Because I remember one time I came back so covered in mud with my friends. I got to the door, knocked on the back door, and she just opened the door, took one look at me up, one look at me down, and went, strip. Which in this day and age would be child abuse. Yeah. But in that day and age, it was my friends who went, ah! Yeah. And I was like, yeah, no problem. Down to my pants in a matter of moments in the garden, no issues.
That's literally just reminded me of a time where I was at my friend's at primary school, Stuart. He had a younger brother and a younger sister, and we ended up having like a water fight in the back garden, but with like, balloons and a couple of water guns. And for some reason, his younger brother got like completely fucking drenched, like head to toe drenched. Whereas we were like, a little bit wet, but not too bad.
Did somebody have a hose?
I don't remember. I don't remember how it happened. And I remember, and his mom was pretty strict, and she was like, "That's it, strip." And she made him strip completely naked. I just remember him running through the house to try and get to his bedroom, just like ah. And then me and Stuart were just like ah. So embarrassed for a little kid. It must have traumatized him.
That must have.
Yeah.
He's probably
He's never been naked since.
Yeah, his sexual life after that, like getting naked in front of anybody, is just
lights
like,
off,
immediate. Boo.
Yeah, lights off. Yeah, he's traumatized by that one moment, and me and Stuart just go. Oh.
And then you have to say out loud, so "Why can't you get it up, my mum?"
Yeah.
Yeah, so my story finishes with me throwing up, waking up next morning, mum being like, "Are you all right?" Me like lugging it, and then her getting a phone call later that afternoon alongside 8 other parents.
And then everyone
there'd been a party at Alex's house.
That's why they all threw up.
Somebody's watered down their dad's whiskey.
As if he went around and told everyone.
Oh, he called every parent. They called every parent.
It was just you
bollock your own
son.
Yeah. Called every parent. He was a dick. I told you, he was a dick.
Yeah, I remember, like, you're saying about like nailing it, getting home, and being pretty pissed, like, because I was mainly raised by my nan and granddad. I was never fussed about going back being drunk because they didn't really care that much. But it was if I'd get high,
really?
And then I'd be like, because if I'd ever smoked weed, I've never really got paranoid until I had to go home. And then I don't know, and I was like really conscious of, like, can they smell it? Like, and my eyes really dilated. So I'd be there like trying not to make eye contact, and I was like, just going to go and get some food, and then eat a whole loaf of bread and go upstairs.
Choice of food immediately gives you away when there's like nice little casseroles, and you go immediately to Doritos, some kind of cheese, and a milkshake.
Yeah.
Yes.
It probably would have been just like, I literally would get a loaf of bread, a block of cheese, and then just walk past them and just like, nothing to worry about here.
Nothing to see here. Yeah. Carry on.
Yeah.
Grandfather and fa.
Yeah. Never got called out on it. They're always pretty sound. And I'm sure they must have known. They must have known. I remember one time as well, I'd come back from camping and I'd unpack my bag and there was condoms in one of the the side pockets of the suitcase, which I forgot. I just cleared all the clothes out, and there was still some in the side pocket of the suitcase. And then my nan went to put the suitcase back up in the loft, and she obviously just like checked through it, and then they were just like left outside my door, and it was like never mentioned.
That's the classic move.
Yeah, but
we know.
Yeah,
we're just letting you know we know.
Yeah, but I don't. Again, I think they're probably happy that I was being sensible. And
yeah. Could have found what's on my kitchen unit downstairs instead.
Yeah.
Which Lou claims is a dog toy. It's a cactus that looks suspiciously like one of those stick-on window dildos.
Yeah, ones with a sucker on the end.
Sucker on the end, and you whap onto a floor, and then two of them go to town on it.
Yeah, or it's like
in
the shower.
It's got a big ribbed centre with 2 little spiky arms coming off the side that look like they might tickle either an anus or some kind of G-spot of some kind. Mm-hmm. Dog toy or somebody else's butt cheeks.
I know, but I've noticed these, like I posted that on my story because I was like, these look obscenely like like sex toys. But whenever I'm going through like any pet store, you genuinely are like looking at these things, being like, these just look like sex toys. There's obviously some, like a giant stuffed
It's
carrot.
basically a loophole because they're cheaper than a sex toy.
Yeah, they're far cheaper. They must
So
be
if you're
like
feeling a bit feisty,
yeah,
get yourself off to Pets
at home. Yeah.
You're just going to see people roaming the aisles in couples.
Yeah,
What about this one? Just having a look at each other and like nodding and
It's too
winking.
thick.
Somebody picks up one of the
And
one of the antlers.
if
What
anyone-
about this one, put it down.
If you hear a dog toy squeaking and you ain't got a dog,
Yeah, there's multiple people in the store, no animals,
Yeah.
shopping in the toy section.
Yeah.
You know what's going on.
Yeah.
We know what's going on.
yeah, I always think they look so similar. And like have you seen like videos where like a dog runs in with a dildo because it's
'cause
like
they
it's
think
found
it's the same.
100%. Like that is such an easy mistake to make as a dog who has no context of it. They've just found some rubber tube-shaped object.
That's quite chewy.
Yeah,
Probably smells fantastic to them.
yeah. Whoa. Fucking hell.
I found a new toy, but it is delicious.
So good. Yeah. I know. Rough. But
No pun intended.
yeah.
Talking of high, we haven't discussed what happened the other weekend.
Oh.
So,
I saw that you mentioned something about it in the title of last week's, but did you
No.
just... I thought you did.
in last week's title was Lads Holidays. Do you think it was that?
Oh, yeah, no.
No, this was a story, some actual holidays like Egypt and stuff.
Okay, all right, no, good. I was glad because I was hoping we could talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, so, well, here's what the plan was. So, you know that Lou and I have ventured into the other realms via the medium of dimethyltryptamine, DMT. Now, a lot of other people have been bugging me about this because obviously we are pro psychedelics.
Yeah.
We enjoy them. We think they have a purpose. We think they have a place in society. Yeah. And we've had some very profound experiences.
Yeah.
So some of the people wanted to share in these experiences. So we thought it would be fun to have like a group outing. So we rented a house in Wales, right on the sea. So a nice
lovely.
big place. It was nice. And I was going to take everybody through a DMT trip. And as per usual, in this day and age, some people dropped out at the very last minute, which is just standard fucking behaviour.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening with people anymore. There's just no commitment to shit.
I know.
It is mind-bogglingly
Some of them
irritating.
weren't to be helped.
Well, no, to be fair, I'll tell you why. One guy dropped out afterwards. I found out it's actually a sad thing.
Okay.
So, but the other people just fucked up.
Yeah, there was just some stuff that happened. Wasn't
Yeah.
there, right?
But it's just the nature of the thing. I knew when we did it, I was like, no way is everybody making this.
Yeah, there was
even
like-
though there's a month's
There was
notice.
like 8 or 9
It
initially.
was meant to be like 8. I think it was meant to be 7 of us, wasn't there? Well, there was going to be 8. But then Mitch, who was on here last week, was going to come, but outrightly said, I can't make it. I've got X and X on, so I can't
Yeah,
do
that's
it.
fine.
So then there was only... who didn't make it?
Danny,
Danny and Sam.
Sam.
Just 2. There's only 2 didn't make it, isn't it? So anyway, it ended up as being 4 of us from what should have been. There should have been 7, maybe 6. Doesn't make a fucking difference anyway. Why was it debate this?
cares?
So anyway, ended up being 4 of us. And I was like, actually, that's probably going to be a bit better because, I don't know how this is going to go in a big group situation. I've done
Less going on.
one-on-ones is really easy, and we'll get back to that in a sec. So we all got there, and then so it was myself, you, Lee, who's been on this podcast before, Mr. Lee, who's very, very... You all liked him when he was on here. It's
He's
funny.
lovely.
And
I
Mark,
really
who you
like
guys haven't met yet because he refuses to come on every time I say, do you want to come on? He's like, no, it's Yorkshire bloke.
Yeah, he's too Yorkshire for a
He's
podcast.
too Yorkshire for a podcast. Aye. If I could entice him possibly if we brought fish and chips and a tea.
Yeah, and
Actually, we might
and
just a brownie.
the premise that he doesn't actually have to say anything.
Yeah, because he would be unable to not say something.
Yeah, but if you don't have to say anything, you just sit there.
Just sit there looking Yorkshire.
Yeah, sit there eating this brownie, and you're like,
All right.
I can do it.
Yeah, we'll probably try that. So we got there. Now, just to give you a perspective, so Yorkshire, your Mark, very quite, what's the word? An unflexible Yorkshireman is the best way to describe it.
Yeah, he is like, and this isn't in an insult, but like, you know how like your granddad is like very
Methodical.
He's got his
methodical.
ways. And he's like very precise about everything
Yeah,
as well.
everything.
But, like kind of, he's older than he is because he's so structured.
He's stuck in his structures.
Yeah.
Very structured.
Well, to the point, the bit
Which
made
is a
me laugh.
benefit in a massive. This is why we worked well together, me and him, because I am absolutely just the zero boundary structure.
Yeah.
He's super structured. So when we come together, we form one normal human.
Yeah. The bit that made me laugh is when we took the DMT, and then afterwards you were like, "Oh, how long has it been?" And then Mark was like, "Well, you took yours at 12:22, and I took mine at 12:26,
exactly
and Lex took his at
I was
12:27."
like, we were about 10 to, and Matt was like, 52 minutes past.
Yeah.
The exact precise timing. But that would be useful if it was like oxygen was running out.
Yeah, exactly.
It would be super useful. So very stern. Lee, as he openly has told us on here, randomly suffers from anxiety. He doesn't know why whenever he's outside of his own home in a sleeping environment. So if he has to sleep outside of his own home, if he doesn't know the house, so he's okay staying here now because he's stayed here a few times, so he's pretty cool, he sleeps right through. But if it's somewhere strange, it's for some reason his body, it's more just a mental mechanism with him now.
Yeah.
Happened when he was like 14 or 15. He just randomly had this massive anxiety attack at his mate's house to the point where he was like sweating, felt like he was going to throw up, felt uncontrolled. And for whatever reason, that mechanism is now inbuilt into him when he goes somewhere that doesn't have an exact plan.
Yeah.
So he also didn't understand that this was going. So the way we do the DMT, or the way I prefer to do it, because I think it's more of a journey. It's more of a. What's the way of describing it? If you vape this stuff, you're in and out in like 15 minutes. So it's a high impact, high velocity trip.
Yeah.
But the way
there's not a lot of duration.
There's
there
no
to
duration,
actually-
but there is a big journey that you go on.
and and I think as well, like time is very hard to perceive, isn't it?
But there is no time when you're in it.
Yeah.
So that's why you can seem like you're gone. It might seem like you're gone for infinity.
Yeah.
When you're in it. But with the way you do it, when we do it ayahuasca style, there's like a whole drop-in phase. You feel it building up. You feel it coming on. You can almost like sense the tonal change as it's arriving and all this. There's like a lot more to experience, I feel.
Yeah.
And there's also, you come in and out of it as well. So there's at points where you can communicate and then go back and you can play with it a lot more.
Yeah.
So I thought, that's probably it's a great thing. But the problem with this is you have to take a preemptive brew, which basically is the thing that it deactivates the enzymes, which are the ones which oxidize DMT straight away, which is why...
Don't mind, I'll finish this.
No, you go. So this brew is from Syrian rue seeds, okay? Now, this is something that a lot of people will drink on a weekly basis because it's a relaxing agent as well. It can have minor psychedelic effects if you do high doses of it, but you wouldn't want to do high doses because it can make you quite nauseous.
As we found out.
So, but because I was with the sponge here,
Yeah.
now, because I didn't want to let anyone down, I upped the dose of the Syrian rue to nothing crazy, but say normally we would do 4 to 5 grams per person. I did 8.
Yeah. And I did, to be fair though, I did say, fucking fire it at me. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'd rather be sick.
Yes.
And get in than not have enough and then kind of have some of the not struggles, but have some of the...
Not have it dropping as hard, dropping
Yeah.
at a full way, yeah.
Yeah, and you gave Mark the high dose as well because Mark is a big guy.
Yeah, he's a fair old wallop when you look. He's like a double XL in stuff, but doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
Because he's not fat. He's just
he's
a big
tall,
lad.
broad,
Yeah.
big Yorkshireman.
Big lad.
Yeah.
Big,
Yeah.
just... So...
So am I, obviously.
Yeah. But so I gave him the same dose as you. And then with Lee, I gave him the same as me, but it was a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Now, I was because I was like quite aware that people were relying on me for everything to do this, I went like above and beyond in like the way I went about doing the routine, and I was probably a bit more stringent than when I do it normally.
Yeah.
And as a result of this, the Syrian rue kicked in like a fucking mule.
Yeah, it was really strong.
And I
compared to
honestly
before.
don't. What we did is we took the Syrian rue, and then because it takes, you have to leave it like 45 minutes before you can go, use the DMT. In that 45 minutes, somebody suggested we walk to the shops. Now, I think that was a bad decision.
Yeah.
Because
It was me who suggested doing it because I was like, oh,
Walking, yeah, it got all the blood flowing and everything, got all our brains working because we were all talking, and then got the Syrian Rue like multi-activated because obviously we were walking to get food, we were talking, blood was flowing, whereas really what we should have been doing was sitting down and relaxing and starting to let the Syrian Rue settle the bodies in and settle the mind. So by the time we got back, we were like, oh, it's definitely kicking in, I can feel it. Like we felt like lightheaded.
Starting to get the like the slightest bit of trails when you were like seeing movement.
Yeah,
It was ever
a little
so
bit like
slight.
when you're getting drunk.
Yeah,
pretty
ever
much.
so slight.
But Lee, on the other hand, was currently freaking out in the bedroom after the Syrian Rue hit him because he was not ready to already feel like he was, like I said, a little bit drunk.
Yeah. Well, I know.
Just off the preemptive brew.
Yeah, because he said, "Oh shit! If this fucking brew's
Yes.
doing it to me, I haven't even taken the DMT yet.
Yeah.
What the fuck's that gonna do to me?"
Yeah. And another bad thing is somebody had told Lee that the DMT was, and this is why I talked about vapes plus the way we do it, was only a 20 to 30 minute thing, which is not even that if you vape it.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I told him it was 2 to 3 hours, it immediately put his back up.
Yeah.
Because he'd prepared himself the whole couple of weeks, like for it to be this 30-minute thing that he could handle. There's no problem.
Well, he told himself, even if it goes bad, it's
only 30
only
minutes.
it's only a short period of time. It's not like I can deal with hell for 30 minutes or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But
It wasn't so now he's in an anxious state in the bedroom, like he was not enjoying it. And I did say to him, I said, right, well, cool, just do not do it, buddy.
Yeah.
Like if you're anxious and everything, then just chill out, enjoy the Syrian Rue's like effects on its own, and just listen to the music and chill and meditate whilst it's there. Because I'm telling you now, with that Syrian Rue, you'll chill because it lasts a while. That stuff, people use it before bed to help them sleep and calm anxiety and nerves and stuff. Ironically, so we dropped the DMT, as we all were, and then Lee just decided, fuck it. Yeah. And before we could do anything, he'd taken it.
Yeah.
And he was, and now here's the thing. So you have, as I said, this like kind of, you have this come up, like you can kind of feel it where, so there's a couple of things that I get is one is like I'll get a burning in the throat sometimes. And that's a sign that I'm going to drop in quite quickly.
Yeah.
Other things is you get I get a fuzzy feeling through my feet and then up around the back of my head. It starts to kind of creep over me that way.
Yeah.
What do you get?
I kind of get, I get the burning in the throat, but...
Do you? Right here, like you need to drink water and stuff, but you don't. That's the thing.
Yeah, and
which we'll come back to the reason why I said that.
For me, there's a sense of, I wouldn't go as far as saying anxiety, but there's like this energy that's building.
Yes.
And you don't notice it until it goes once you're in.
Yeah.
But like there's this really slow like filling up of like anxious, nervous energy.
That's also a bit of the Syrian Rue again, mixing with it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what set Lee off. Because even though you were sat chilling, your heart's going to be like, hey, we want to run.
Yeah.
But it's kind of counterintuitive, like that, because you think, well, I'm meant to be relaxing now. Why is this still making my heart beat faster? But my heart was going dog, 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 dog. I was like, oh, that's really getting it.
Yeah, you become quite aware of everything as well, don't you? So
Yeah.
you can like your heartbeat beating fast feels like there's even more going on because you're just super aware of it, like pounding in your chest.
So as we're all kind of like going in, like I had the meditation music on, everything's going well, but Mark wouldn't stop fidgeting in the corner. Now I could tell he was being Yorkshire, and by that what I mean was like every time I would challenge him on, not challenge him, but like, you good, everything okay, rather than being like I'm a bit uncomfortable or something like that, he would man up and be like, yep, good.
Yep.
Like, yep, good. Like, really stern, kind of military, like, yep, good. Which I could immediately tell wasn't the real answer. But he's a full-grown man. I'm not going to tell him how to answer me or whatever he wants to do. But I'm very aware this is counterintuitive to the way you need to be when you're going to go in. Because this isn't like... whenever you're doing a trip or something like that in a group or anything, there's one thing you really need to remember. The one thing you need to remember when you're doing it is that it is nothing to do with ego. In fact, you need to let the ego go. So if you want to be or you feel vulnerable, act vulnerable. Let people know that's how you're feeling, because all they're going to do is calm you. There's no judgment. You're already going into this journey with other people that is going to take you far beyond anything that you've ever encountered before, and you're doing it together. There's a reason the people are there. They're there to help you, guide you, support you. So be vulnerable. Like, let out every little thought that you have and let other people help you in that
Yeah, you've got to be really open in
Have
that
to be.
situation. Because before we actually got started, I was a bit anxious for like doing it in a group because I was like, I don't know these people that well. Like, and especially
I didn't know how a group thing was. We've never done it before.
Yeah, and I think the idea for me is because like it's that level of vulnerability with a bunch of not strangers but people that I don't know super
You're
well.
not normally vulnerable.
And that I'm not normally vulnerable with. So beforehand, I was a little bit unsure, but then when the group got smaller, and out of that group, I probably know, I've met Mark the most,
Yeah.
and I've met Lee a couple of times as well, and like
Very easy to
Lee's
get
super, Lee's like, even though I only met him a couple of times, it's super easy to get on with as well.
Yeah.
So as soon as I was in the environment, I was like, actually, no, this is gonna be good. Like, I was a little bit apprehensive about how they might react.
Yes.
Maybe more so Lee, because I know that he's quite an anxious person,
Yeah.
and I really wanted him to get the best out of it, but he was quite vocal about like his worries and concerns about it. And then it's one of them things, isn't it?
But the thing is his worries and concerns about it were the exact things he wanted to go on the journey for.
Yeah, that's it. He was in a really weird like juxtaposition where he like, he wanted it to help his anxiety, which is, it was quite severe, wasn't it? His anxiety, and but also the anxiety that he was feeling was not going to let him get where he needs to go.
He's a motherfucker.
And it's a little bit of a cycle, and whether there would have been a different way.
We'll get back to why. We'll get back to that. There's an important couple of things that happened there, which we'll go to. So where do we get up to? So looking over at Mark, because I was lying on this sofa thing, you were on like a big armchair. Mark was on another armchair, which didn't look so big with him on it because he's a unit. And then we pulled down one of the mattresses from in Lee's room, and that was in the centre of the room, and Lee was lying on that. So I said to Mark a few times, "Do you want to take this, the chaise long thing that I was on?"
Yeah.
But he manned up, was like, "No, I'm good." Which I took at the time as being, no, he's comfy, he's all right there. But he was actually just not being picky. Like, he was trying to not be a nuisance or any kind, which is, again, exact opposite of what you need to be. If anything feels off, you voice it, and then it's fixed. And then, because if you don't, and this is what happened, you will then begin to focus on the uncomfortableness that you have not vocalized.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened with him. So he got very fidgety. He couldn't get settled.
He wanted to stretch out, but he couldn't. The mattress was kind of on the floor by his feet, so he was like...
He was worried about knocking Lee with his feet and stuff like that. And which, again, anything that directs your attention from anything other than letting go and allowing the substance to do what it wants to do, if you resist, it will persist. And it will. So he got fixated on movement, throat, all these kind of things that were affecting him. He's quite bodily orientated as well, so
he kept talking about throwing up as well.
So then he went and threw up.
Yeah,
because he kept talking about it
over and over again. He kept mentioning it,
and because like the Syrian route will make you need to shit or piss or sometimes throw up. It's very rare that it usually makes you throw up, but because I mentioned it, the fixation on toilet became a problem. Because then they were all like worried, so what? I might have shit myself. I'm like, no. But because he got it in his head, that was then a major focal point of his. Because he's in a room full of lads, man up, don't want to crap himself.
Yeah.
You know how many times he's going to be told, you're not going to crap yourself?
Yeah.
He was in his head. That or throwing up. So what happened? Fidget, and then threw up. In the meantime, Lee's actually doing really well at this point. He's in with the meditations, he's done all that. But then Mark got up to go and throw up, and it was so loud and so Yorkshire.
Team America style.
Yes.
After like hearing him go running off, so it was like...
At which point, whatever comfort Lee was in was absolutely shattered. And there's just no way around at this point because it's been broken. So now Lee's pulled out of his comfort zone. Lou and I are fine. Like we literally each other like chuckling.
Yeah. And a few times.
Well, because we could hear him dry heaving. He threw up once and legitimately but I forgot to mention, you always fast for 24 hours prior to these things, which will alleviate any usual nausea or ability to actually... If you have food in your stomach when you do one of these ayahuasca-style trips, you will throw up. It's called the purge. It's literally part of the process. It will eject anything from your body that is in the way. So without there being anything in your body, even if you do throw up, it's usually like one thing, it's a bit of water, and then after that, it's like you've got to kind of tell yourself, oh, good, I'm done. And if you do that, you'll not feel sick again afterwards. But if you sit there and you throw up like you're attempting to throw up like when you're drunk, you will stay and be in a loop circle of trying to vomit or feeling like you're going to vomit because you're now trapped in a loop of this focusing on the vomit, which is what happened to Mark. So he was dry heaving like crazy at the sink, which is pulling Lee out of his thing. And now Lee's kind of like looking at his hands and seeing if anything's going. He's trying to lie back down, and I can see he's like he's going like, let it go, and then he's coming back up and looking at his hands. So I can see he's now starting to fixate, which again is not what you want, especially with someone who's anxious about something. This kind of goes on for a little bit, and then there's a point where I go to. It was getting a bit cold in the room. I think I went to switch the fire on, and I went to plug the speaker in. And when I went to plug the speaker in, Mark couldn't handle the fact that I was doing something near him. Yeah. And it was like, because he was fixating so much on things, he wasn't letting anything slow down. He wasn't like kind of letting go. And then he got up and he grabbed his phone and went upstairs. And I was like, oh, he's removed himself.
Yeah.
Now
he's checking out.
He's checked out. 100% checked out.
If you pick your phone up, then
yeah, that was a determination to go, and that's exactly the wrong thing to do, because the purpose of being in the room with the music and everything, the people, one is for support. So that you can just vocalize, oh, I'm feeling this way. So somebody else can go, yeah, that's all right, that's normal. In which case, when someone goes, yeah, that's normal, most of the times, boom, it's gone. Because now you're relaxed about it. He's like, oh, okay, cool. So and then two, he's away from the frequencies of the music, the actual music sounds that I have playing that are specific and actually help direct your journey and help pull you in and out of your trip and where it's going. Obviously, your brain determines what you see and feel and all that, but the music I use is specific to being on a trip, so it is of certain frequencies, certain sounds, and it helps manipulate you into being able to go deeper. So when you remove yourself from that, you're now in a silent, dark room with nothing going on other than whatever you want to fixate on. And if you're already in a fixated state on something, when you go and do that and remove yourself, you're going to loop in that fixated state, because unless you have the ability, because you're used to trips, to just be able to not do that, which he didn't have. So yes, we lost one man down. At this point then, because Lee had been fixated on Mark throwing up, guess what happened? Lee threw up, which is very bad, because now Lee is now freaking the fuck out. Because now he's throwing up. Whilst he's throwing up, there's psychedelic stuff going on, which is quite disorientating. He did what you would do as a usual Brit and lay down on the kitchen floor, which is the usual solution to being too drunk or something like that. You find a kitchen floor, bathroom floor, lie down on it. I went in, checked on him, was talking him through, and he was okay. I asked him to come back into the room, and he said, no, I can't move right now. And this is where I made what I believe is an error. I shouldn't have left him. But because he said, I'm all right here, it's
hard to know, isn't it?
I thought he was controlling it there, and to move him was an error. But either way, I should have stayed with him to give him support. I didn't realize he was in any kind of overload loop at this point. But what happened is, when he thrown up, because it had caused a lot of like, you know the speed up motions that you get of like the kaleidoscope-esque style things, that was kind of whipping him around, and then it was bringing him back to. He was in a loop of, okay, relax, let it go. Kaleidoscope speeds up, get a bit quicker. Oh, I don't like that. Oh, I feel sick. Oh, yeah, I was being sick. Oh, going to be sick. Oh, okay, let it go. And then, boom, that's the loop he was in. Now, if I was there, I would have been able to pull him out of that, no problem. Like, I could have literally just talked to him and said, how you feeling? Okay, and then said, well, you realise you're in a loop right now and you can literally pull out whenever you want. Oh, okay, boom, he would have been out. He would have been fine. I'd have been able to probably bring him back into the room. He'd have been okay. As it was, I came back into the room and let the trip take me, wherever it was. I was in and out. I really didn't get a great trip because I was so focused on everybody else. But that's the point, you see. I'm experienced in this, so I was able to focus on other problems and not have any myself.
Because you were getting up and walking around.
But I was getting up. I wasn't going in. I had like maybe 40 minutes where I went in and had a nice like stress release and like a bit of a purge, but nothing kind of really insightful or anything. I didn't come out of the trip with any eye-opening details like I normally do. But the fact is, I was able to see all these things going wrong around me and not get pulled into any negative loop myself. And that's because I'm used to what I'm going to see or feel or hear. So I don't get caught into that stress and anxiety of what I'm seeing and feeling and hearing.
That's probably, for me, one of the things that I took away from it the most, because I was, seeing that them two started to have not a great time. I was like, oh shit, let's hope that this doesn't spiral for me as well. And I was making a very conscious effort to tell myself that I'm okay and this is okay, because like several times when you'd look over and we're like checked up on each other, and then I'd always make sure I was always just like, yeah, I'm good, everything's sound, and I was always like, it was partially a conscious effort to tell myself that everything was okay. which then made everything okay, and I didn't get pulled into anything negative. It was, mine was very internal. Like, you were getting up and wandering around, and I was like, man, I'm struggling to keep my eyes open here.
Yeah.
So we were going through completely different things. So it did feel very different to last time. It was super individual.
It was very internal for me as well. Though I got very little visuals.
Yeah.
Very little. But whereas Lee had overwhelming visual,
Yeah.
like kind of stimulus. So it reacted very. It does what it needs to do for what you need at the time.
Yeah.
But the reason, if I'd have stayed with Lee, I could have talked him through. But I was again trying to check on everyone, so I was walking upstairs to check on Mark, and he was just literally like breathing heavily in a room on his own.
Yeah.
Like, I thought maybe he was asleep or doing whatever. Anyway, he wasn't kind of doing anything weird. He was just lying down like Dracula in a bed in a dark room. Twitter came down. He went, I didn't get any like crazy visuals or anything like that, and like kind of brushed it off as being like nothing really happened.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I came up like 5 times to the whole trip, and you were like gone somewhere. Like he was gone somewhere doing something, and there was just like, again, it was an attempt of like this. I don't want to really say how I felt or things that happened. So I was like, okay, that's cool. Like, you don't have to share or anything like that. But I don't like the fact that he felt like he'd be judged. I really tried. I think we all tried. Really, I wanted. That was never like, I've said it to him outright before. And I've said it to anyone and you and everyone. Like, whenever there's nothing to prove to me. If you're my friend, you never have to prove shit to me because you've already proven you're good enough to be a friend.
Yeah,
like that's the biggest thing.
Yeah,
and I would think the world of Mark as it is, and I've told him that. Like I said, literally, I love you, dude. I think the world of you. Like, you have zero to ever prove to me.
Yeah, he doesn't have to
like,
hold
nothing,
anything.
But it's nothing to do with me. It's his own internal, meter.
Yeah.
So that it's up to him when he chooses to do that, not me.
Yeah.
So he chose, to not want to be too open about whatever it was, and maybe later down the line, try again. He'll be a bit more relaxed, which he usually is about stuff anyways. Most human beings and men are.
Yeah.
You do things more than once or twice, and then you start to kind of get into it a bit easier. Yeah, you're open more, and you realise, there isn't a stigma to whatever as I was feeling before or anything like that.
It was so much easier for me this time around. Like, even though I said I was still a bit worried about the external, the situation, but in terms of doing it, like, well, when we were in the kitchen and everyone had the DMT, and we were like, right, okay, we're going to start taking it, and then Mark and Lee kind of looked at each other. I was like, look, it's fine.
Yeah, he did. He just dropped it in.
Yeah, just straight away. No hesitation, because I knew that it was going to be fine.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to show them, like, there's nothing to worry about. Look, I'm happy to do it.
Yeah.
You guys should be happy as well, and not to be too stressed. And it is that, isn't it? I think the more times you do it...
There's no way of getting right. You're going to be stressed the first time you do it. I still get nervous.
Yeah,
but
I was
in like an
nervous.
excited way.
Yeah.
Like when you're going to go on a ride that you really kind of don't want to go on, but you are going on it, like at the theme park. It's kind of like that, but when you're on it, it's fucking awesome. You're like, yeah, this is why I did it, because it's
Yeah, because it's worth it.
Very similar sensation. Like, so... Yeah, and then unfortunately, so Lee basically stayed in this loop for the entire evening, and pulling him out of it was like, well, here's the thing: he felt like he was in the loop for the whole time. Now I checked in on him a number of times, and there's a few times same as Mark when I went in, he was just out breathing heavily, like he was gone somewhere. But I think what happened was he got overwhelmed whenever he opened his eyes and came back out of it, that he forgot whatever. He said he had a few eye-opening moments about realization of his family and how much love there is there, and how much like they are at the forefront of his mind. He didn't realize kind of how important that feeling to him was, not how important they were, but how important the feeling of having that family to him was, and how much he appreciates it, and he wanted to kind of let them feel that too. So there's a nice thing to come out of it. He also learned that he can make it through a tough situation like a motherfucker and still come out the other side.
Yeah.
And that sometimes is the journey.
Yeah.
Like, I've had one of those.
Yeah, just being able to actually battle through, like, get your head down and just deal with it.
Just fucking grind
as it comes through.
But I had a good out of it, whereas he didn't really. He kind of went to bed at the end of the night, even though he was coming back. He was still within this kind of palpation state of fucking,
And he was telling himself that this was the worst thing fucking ever.
Yeah, like it was hell for him.
Yeah.
Like, because he was just in this, basically, in a loop of trying to because he was like, right, remember, like, so it's okay, breathe, let it go, and then everything starts speeding up, and he'd be like, oh, I'm losing control, and then okay, try and lie down, just let it go, and then because he kept in this loop, eventually he was just like, it's fucking never going to end, and then he would start freaking out, but it's never going to end, and it does feel like an eternity when you're in it. Like,
it does.
You can be in for 3 hours, it can feel like
days, weeks,
yeah.
months. Yeah, it is. It's crazy how much you lose track of it. It just reminded me of the bit where Lee was saying afterwards, when he was lying on the kitchen floor and then he heard you talk to me about, do you want some more?
Oh, yeah.
And like you gave me the vape, and then I obviously said yes. And then he could hear me vaping it. And then Lee was there going through fucking hell, lying on the floor, like clinging on for dear life, thinking, why does Lewis want more of this?
How does he want more of this?
Want more?
Yeah.
But actually, that's a good point as well, because now I think about it, because we basically, that was like maxing out the dose of Syrian root, right? Because any more than that was not going to yield any more benefit. No. We were all feeling we had the hallucinogenic effects from the Syrian root, so that's quite a potent dose. I still didn't drop in.
Yeah, do you know why though? I think it's because the batch that I have this time, because obviously there are different purities or whatever every time you get them, and we were on a new one that was untested before. I think, well, there's a lot of things, because sometimes I've done, a standard dose, and it's I've done like
120.
So let's say, we won't say what they are, but they're in the hundreds values. So say 100 is like a baseline for what I'd normally do, and I've done and then I'll go up to usually sometimes 125 maybe and whatever. So you and I did the 120. Lee only did the 100. I think Mark did a 110. I think it split the difference. I've done 100 sometimes and gone deeper than I have when I've done 130s. So it's a bizarre thing. Sometimes it's situation, previous week, diet from the previous week that you've had, how much exercise and that you've done the day prior. All of these things have a really big. It's actually really beneficial to fast and work out. The day before and even the morning of the time you're going to do it.
I think because I did, so I fasted for longer because I knew that I was spongy. So I fasted for 36 hours. I trained the morning of. So like I was trying to like do everything I needed to do to make me need as little as possible or as little as possible to go as long as possible.
I think with this batch, you and I could probably play with another
130, 140 maybe.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't go that straight away. I'd do the 130.
I'm genuinely just like, fucking give me 200, see what happens.
That'd be psychonaut levels. Like that would be a hero dose.
I genuinely would be open to that though, because I like.
Yeah, but if you that is a dose where you, in your mind, probably will die.
Yeah, that's kind of maybe not necessarily what I want, but maybe that's
But as it happens, you would probably believe it's actually happening. That's the downside of it. Like once you got past that stage, you would be into the realms of wonderment, or whatever. But that stage would be terrifying.
Yeah,
because you would be so out of you. It would destroy you so much that you wouldn't be aware of reality that you're not dying, because it would show you so convincingly that you're dying that you would probably believe it.
I think the last deep trip that I had, when I lost context of like pretty much everything, and I was trying to get back, but I'm not really. I had some moments that I was aware of that were uncomfortable, but like in general, I'm not like a fearful person. There's nothing. I'm not saying there's nothing.
No,
that scares
you're pretty
me.
good, because you even said you had a moment where it took you into what was a chasm, a dark chasm, where there was an eerie sensation about it.
Yeah.
Now, most people at that point would be like, "Oh, I'm not going in there. I don't want to see what's in here," and they would probably then turn their mind away from that and try and escape it or feel bad. You leaned into it.
Yeah, I was trying to like see what was going on.
What's in the darkness?
And I knew it was something that the fact, because like I do often do this, so I often find something that makes me uncomfortable, or something that. Like that's the reason how I've got a fucking business and whatever. I'll find something that's like, basically, I'll put myself in situations that I don't really know how to deal with, because I kind of have a trust in my ability to just figure shit out. So I'll do that all the time, where my bathroom, I am nowhere near qualified to do anything that I've just done.
And it's amazing.
But it's really good, because I just fucking ripped it apart, and I was like, I've got to do it
now.
now. So like, and I'll do that all the time with stuff. So because for me, that's it. I need to be all in. Like I don't do well with like, oh, can you do this? Can you help? Like I'm just like, I'm just gonna fucking take hold of something.
Do another one just with you and me.
Yeah,
but I want. You don't need me now.
You don't. Am I graduated?
I could, because on that one, I was checking on you and you were absolutely fine.
Yeah, I don't feel like I
even
do.
with what was going on around us, you just flew through no problem. You were like, yeah, I'm cool, man, I'm going back in.
only
And you would
thing, I
just
just
turn
got cold.
over and just go whoop, straight back to
I
where
just
you were.
pulled that blanket up.
Yeah, dude.
So at one point, we haven't said this, and Lex, obviously, yours wasn't as deep, and you were kind of getting up and moving around a little bit more. And then, like, I remember you stood up and you were looking at me really, like, a really big smile, and I was there, like, I was happy as well, and I was like, but I kind of, my body was, like, saying, come on, go now.
Yeah.
And you were there, like, smiling, you go, should we go out on the balcony?
Oh, yeah.
And I was just like, no, I'm all right, you go.
Yeah.
And, like, you open the door, and I remember seeing you out on the balcony like this at one point.
Just having arms wide,
Yeah.
just taking in the energy.
And then, and I was there like smiling, just watching you going, oh, that was really cool. And then I was like, oh, it's a bit chilly out there. And you were out for a while. And then I went somewhere. And then when I came back, I was fucking freezing. Because I was literally like on the sofa, curled up, like kind of just like a little ball. And then you came in and you walked off for a bit, and I was like in and out, and I just kept getting colder and colder. And then at one point, I was like, I could see the blanket on the floor, and I was like,
I did come back in.
I crawled over, and I was like, just cocooned myself with this fucking blanket.
Yeah, you did.
And it was it was completely different. Mine was really internal, but there was still so much going on, and people were moving around. You were kind of checking up on people. So for me, like it was really internal. I saw quite a lot of things, but it didn't feel quite as conclusive as the last one. Like I felt like I was heading somewhere, and then before I kind of found the revelation, something happened.
It would pull you.
Like Mark had. And then I'd just be there and I'm like, what's going on? So yeah, I was gonna say actually, like I would love to do another one with you, not too long in the future, because I didn't get what I needed out of it.
I didn't have to get anything, so I'm good to go.
Maybe you can come over mine when we can do that, because again, it can be like quite a chilled environment.
Yeah.
Because that's the hard thing, isn't it? It's finding the right setting, and this isn't a knock to Mark or Lee at all.
No, in fact, it was I think it was actually, now in hindsight, an unfair setting to put those two into. And what I should have done really is the best way is to solo it with somebody on both each time. So like I took you through and just shamaned you through it. I should have done that with Lee especially.
Yeah, it would be so much easier for both of them,
well,
really.
Mark had no, other than the throwing up, he had no negative thing from it. If anything, he tried to downplay it.
Yeah.
Saying like, nothing really happened. But I definitely know he had some breakthroughs in his, like he definitely went into the quiet space, but his mind, because when I went up and checked on him, dude, he was Darth Vader in it, gone. He was, so I think he did have some internal benefit to it. I think he had some thought processes that went on there. Whether he embraced them or not, I don't know. Probably chances are probably not, but at least it will have maybe opened some questions for him or something. But with Lee, I think what's really frustrating for me is I really wanted him to get this to this root of his anxiety, so that he could, because it's so freeing when you find the root cause of something that's been a hindrance in your life. It's an immediate culling of that feeling. Like it is so, like it napalms that motherfucker, because once you know the root cause of that feeling, you no longer need to worry about it, because you know what's causing it. Like it's killing it at the root.
Yeah, it genuinely is like fucking years of therapy in a
it
few
really
hours.
is. And he just, and this is why I wish I could have just stayed with him, because this is heartbreaking thing. It gets me, like, at the beginning of the trip when he was doing great in the meditation, I was next to him, because I was on this like chaise longue sofa, part of the sofa, right next to him where he was on the floor on the mattress. And I just went over and held his arm, and I said, remember, you're in a safe place, you're surrounded by people that care for you, and I am right here. And I grabbed his hand with my hand. I said, I'm right here. And when he was in the kitchen, he said that he would reach out for my hand and then remember I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I just feel like if I was there, I could have grabbed his hand and been like, you are all good, man.
Yeah.
Come out, let it go. And he would have been able to go. And I feel like I let him down on that because I kept bouncing, trying to check people. And I should have focused on him, because, yes, Mark had removed himself, but he was fine up the stairs. Like, if anything, he quietened his journey. You were good.
Yeah.
And at that point, I feel like I was selfish and went and lay down for myself. And I think what I've learned is go with my gut. Because my gut was, don't leave him here.
Yeah.
But then when he said, no, I'm all right here, I'm not going to move, I then took the thing of, I took the out.
Yeah.
I took the easy way. I should have sat
I
with
think as well that you know, don't be too harsh on yourself because you've just taken an incredibly powerful hallucinogenic psychedelic drug.
Yeah.
So you're not in a position where it's not straightforward for you.
No.
And I felt like I should try and do something, but I literally was not capable of like getting up. Like everyone else was out of the trip, and I was still in, wasn't I? For like quite a while.
You were in there. Well, that was because of the dose of the serum, you see.
Yeah.
So you see the benefit of the length of what you got.
It took me a long time to get in, but then I was in for quite a long time after, and even when I got up, I only got up because everyone else was up and about, and they'd been there for a while, and I'd gone multiple times, and I'm like, fucking hell, I should probably like go and
normally
talk
at the end of
to
the
him.
trip, I mean, we go eat food and something, and it tastes amazing, doesn't it? You know, like it's a real part of it. Like the end of it, you go and have the food, and it's amazing. You sit and you chat. That was all kind of lost because, like, we couldn't enjoy our journey and talking about it because the other two had like not had this great time.
Yeah.
And so the basis of it is group sessions are not easy. They're not. I thought they would be better. They're not, because I thought having more people in a room doing something together would give camaraderie and all that kind of like team essence. It doesn't.
There's a lot, because there's a lot of different energies going on.
Yes.
And when you're in such an altered state where it's impossible to tell you until you've done it, but just the fact that colours become more vibrant, you can imagine how emotions start to feel. Everything is magnified to an extreme level. You become incredibly sensitive to your surroundings and things that are going on. So when somebody's having a bad time, that's really impactful. And it makes me really respect when you see people going off for these, like where they do it in like Mexico and they've got like a shaman who will go take them through it. Obviously, they're super experienced.
I've watched this though.
Yeah.
They do each person individually and they sit with them. And because they're smoking it, it's only 15 minutes.
Right.
They still, well, unless it's the ayahuasca stuff. The ones in Mexico, they're smoking, the 5-MeO. So it's quick in. It's like 2 big inhales and they're gone.
They're gone, yeah.
And then it's like 15 minutes and they sit with them with their hands on their chest and they do the feathers around them and all the stuff.
I feel like that would have been better for Lee.
Oh, 100%. But this is the thing that I don't like, you see. I feel like now I've turned him away from it.
Yeah.
That's why I feel bad. Because I feel like, honestly, I'm just like, it's so healing. It's so healing. And not everyone, it's tough. I've been to the tough trip. I know the people have been through the tough trips, but they've done like 5, 6, 7 more afterwards, and it's been amazing. So I just really hope I don't put him off something that could really be beneficial for him.
Yeah.
So,
Fingers crossed. He kind of keeps an open mind. I know he did say that. I probably won't try it again, but I'd like to think if a little bit more time elapses, because this was obviously moments after it had happened, like a few hours. He might consider it in a different situation. And like I said, one-on-one and potentially via the vape. So he hasn't got to worry. It's
only 20
5,
minutes.
10, 15 minutes. Because I swear when we did it, it wasn't even 10 minutes, was it?
Oh, no, when you did the light one, it was literally 10 minutes.
Yeah, and that was a very different experience for me because I didn't go anywhere at all with the...
it was just
it was just visuals.
But again, I think that was clever that we did that because it gave you, because you Harry's kind. So if you're if you have a house with a garden and a garden gate, going into the house is breaking through on your trip. That's the one where you're inside. When you did the vapes, you stood at the garden gate and looked into the garden.
Yeah,
but that's the equivalent. So you had all the visuals and a perception of the idea of what it was visually. So because you had that, it prepared you.
Yeah.
There was no shock value to any visual coming your way.
Yeah, because there is a sensation as well, isn't there? It's a
that's true.
A
Yeah,
physical
that
sensation, which is hot. Like there's nothing else that does that. Like I've never felt that physical sensation in any other context, and I can't really put my finger on it what it is.
It's almost like as you breathe out and exhale the vapor, your body suddenly gets lighter. And there's almost a fizz that goes through your body. It's really, and that's a similar feeling to what happens as you're going in through the trip. So because you've had that sensation, oh yeah, I've been here before. Yeah. If you've had that, I've been here before, you don't have the anxiety about it. Oh, I've been here before.
Yeah. Yeah. So even though it takes you deeper or for longer, again, you've kind of had a real gentle. It's like, you know what I mean. The first time you ever have alcohol, if you just absolutely got slaughtered, you're probably not going to have a great time.
Well, look at the people who hate whiskey.
Yeah.
And why is it they hate whiskey? Because they've had Jack Daniels and Coke, downed it, and now they hate whiskey. Well, that's like saying you hate burgers because you had some shit burger van burger and got food poisoning.
Yeah.
Like, you don't hate burgers when you go to a beautiful restaurant and have the gourmet burger.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
it is. It's just about kind of how that experience went.
Yeah.
But I think that was also really insightful for you in terms of, because something you're really passionate about and something that you kind of want other people to experience. And I'm obviously a lot newer to it than you are. But for me, I thought, okay, this is quite interesting. It's a learning experience about the actual drug itself and a little bit more about how it feels to different people, how important context is, which is all stuff that are kind of new from smoking weed. Like, you know, the setting, the environment is really, really important, especially anything that does alter your state. And there is a little bit of overlap from smoking weed, I suppose.
There is more than I expected because I'd never smoked weed until really properly, like as in the only times I'd used it was to like help me sleep.
Yeah.
So I'd never smoked it to enjoy being high from weed. Until you brought it around that one night in the dry vape thing.
Yeah.
And I'd never done a dose that high because you didn't realize it was as strong as it was. So I had more than I expected, and I like dissociated from my limbs and body at one point. And I was like, and there was things happening like the time lapse thing, like the chunks of time that we just jump. I was like, oh, damn, this happens on the DMT when you're going in. And I didn't realize there was this kind of link between the two. But because I'd been there on the DMT, I didn't freak out at all on the weed, even though I'd basically not overdosed, but overdosed in what I was expecting.
Yeah, you definitely went in a lot harder than I thought.
Wait, like double harder.
They did tell me it was strong, but I was like, you like, people tell you that all the time. And you're like, no one's like, oh yeah, this is piss weak. No, like no one ever says that.
I knew it was way stronger than you expected when I looked over at you, and I was like, dude, I'm really high. And I looked at you, and you, at what you must have thought was a normal head turn speed, went like this. And that, now you've looked at me, and then you went bottom lip over top lip. And I was like, oh no, lose super high. I am in space. Because I knew when I looked at you and you were that high, I was like, oh, he's underestimated this. But it didn't make me do anything but laugh.
Yeah.
Because all the sensations I was having, I'd already had more of than in the DMT. So in that just made me laugh then. And then I started playing with it. Yeah. And whenever you're in a playful mood with anything like this, which is the game, you have to remember when you go in, life is a game. It's to be played. And the same as when you're on a trip, it's to be playful. The point is just to go in and play with it, whether it's play with it to see how you can scare yourself or test your limits, whatever it is, but you can control how.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah.
You can. You don't get the choice of exactly what it is you're going to see, feel, hear, whatever, but you can choose the situation. Like if it's overwhelming, you can choose to reduce the overwhelming and move on.
Yeah.
You just have to embrace it, let it go, and it will move. So again, if you resist, it will persist. And this is the same shit in life. If you resist something, it's never going to change. If you don't face it, don't let it go. If it's like simple things like with road rage, like don't let it go, let it burn up inside you. It develops into anger, hate. You chase someone down, you get into a fight. When that all you could have just go, just let it go,
taking a breath and
let it go, and that whole situation would have just bypassed you, and you'd have carried on to the next, probably better situation.
Yeah. Shall I say a few things that I actually saw?
Oh yeah, go on then, because you haven't actually told me because we were so busy trying to like.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
Oh, that was as well. The next day, like it was so heavy on Lee and that he was like, "Boys, I'm not even going to go out," because so myself, Mark, and Lee, we turned up on the motorbikes because it's Wales and Wales is great for riding in, and the weather was, it was pretty decent. It was overcast, but it was not raining, and if it's not raining, bikes are out. And so we were going to go on a ride the next day, and Lee was like, "Oh, I'm not going to go," because he started to doubt himself. You see, so this is another thing that irritated me about it is rather than him coming out like in this positive, like, "Oh, look what I've done," it almost beat him down a little bit because he was upset that he didn't get
what he needed.
But I kept trying. Oh, there was a point I forgot to mention that in the story before I was going to say it, and I forgot. I went in and sat with him for over an hour, just talking to him. To when like I left you for a while, and there before I came out, I went on the balcony.
Yeah.
And I was in there talking to him, trying like I did with you, asking like, what are you seeing? What are you doing? And he was like, it's just all moving. It's overwhelming. It's too fast. I'm trying to relax, but then every time I try and relax, it gets overwhelming. So then I pop out, and then I'm thinking, oh, relax, and it gets overwhelming. And I pop out. I was like, okay, so you can see you're in a loop. And so I was saying, so now you know you're in a loop, yeah? He's like, yeah. So I said, so you can control that loop now. You know that if it starts to build up, let it go, release it, let it go. You are in control of this. And I said, but you also have to remember that every time that you break the loop, tell yourself you're in a loop and go back in the loop, you're redirecting it yourself. You are in control of all of these things just by the way you're thinking about it. And then the more I talked to him, the more he conversed with me, and then the less he remembered he was in a loop. So he started for an hour to be absolutely fine. But then when he went back into a loop, he thought he'd been in that loop for the last hour. And I was like, dude, you've just been talking to me for the last hour. Yeah. So through his whole trip, he thought he was in a loop for the entire time. I don't think he was. I think he was gone at points and was coming back out into an overwhelming situation and then was trapped in that, what felt like forever. Yeah. But the reality of it was, I think maybe he was stuck in it because he was good for the first 50 minutes. I think he was probably maybe stuck in this thing for 45 minutes.
Yeah. But when it's so overwhelming.
Then felt the anxiousness carry through afterwards.
Yeah.
So I think with the lack of that awareness of time when you're in there.
It is tricky, isn't it, to perceive things? It really is.
Some motherfucker, like...
What happened then? So he did go out with you after?
Oh, so the next day, both Mark was good though as well, because Mark was just like, no, you're coming out. Like, he went Yorkshire on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No choice. You're
coming out, bloody hell. So I made him eat a croissant, which we bought the night before. I made him eat 2 croissants. There's some chocolate milk in him. Just trying to get some sugars in and stuff like that. Trying to get his, like, because we didn't have any electrolytes or anything there, which we should have probably bought. And then obviously we went out for the ride, and he was absolutely dandy, like, for the day. Yeah. So he was fine, but it was just he was trapped in this mindset of like being in a fail point. Yeah. And I was just like, you haven't failed. I said, not if anything. I said, sometimes these trips are what you need to realize that you can get through this shit. And then when he came out on the ride, I said, so you were fine. You were going to not do this. He was like, yeah, you're right. Yeah. And I mean, he's absolutely sweet. We went out for lunch. He was great.
Good.
Well, I think he felt disappointed in himself because he felt like he'd let himself down, and he thought he'd let me down. I was like, what, you want to crazy? Yeah. I was like, I'm the other way. If anything, bro, I should have stayed with you a bit more. And so it was just a whole cyclic thing of just him getting trapped in this negative mindset, and that's what it will do to you, though. I mean, there's no guarantee. No, with these things, we have great times and see amazing things, but
there's going to be some bad ones.
We've put work in there to get kind of like that. You've put work in with the meditation and everything like that prior, and I think.
In a weird way, I don't want a bad one, but I know that one's going to happen, so I kind of want to tick it off.
But they're never bad, though. It's like it's never. It's just it's more of a.
You're
more trapped. I know, but everyone can say it's bad, and I don't want to put people off because, like, the only time these things are going to be terrifying is if you do a massive dose and you've got no experience with them. Yeah. And then everything that you see and everything that happens to you is going to be overwhelming because it's new. Yeah. But if you ease your way in sensibly, start low, build your way up and build your way in, being a good surrounding with good people, good environment, managed, everything is, calculated. The only thing we say bad is a bad one word, tough. Yeah. Some trips will challenge you.
Well, I looped the first time, didn't I?
They're often the best ones.
Yeah, I looped the first time, and you told me you're in a loop, and I was like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm all right with it.
I'm just staying in it and see how long it goes.
I was like, yeah, I'm all right with this. Yeah. But yeah, so I kind of want to have one of those ones that is more challenging in a weird way, so I can know what it's going to be like. So then I've got something to compare to. Yeah. So because this is something that I think I'll probably be doing for quite a long time, on and off. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Might be months apart, but I'll probably be doing this for as long as is reasonable for me to do.
Well, you'll know when you don't need it after a while. Yeah. And apparently, there are times when DMT can shut you out as well. Yeah. A lot of people get shut out.
All right.
Yeah, they can take
too much too
frequently.
Substances.
Yeah. He took a hero dose on DMT and it just went, nope.
Not for you, sir.
No more for you right now. And he said that he even got the ringing before you're about to break through, and then it just went and stopped. And it was like, nah, not today. Wow. Which is hilarious because it's almost like it's a living, working thing through you. Like it's just like
it is weird.
You don't need this right now. I'm not going to let you do it.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah.
So,
What did you see on the last one then? Go on.
Okay, so
We'll finish the tale on this one.
well, so there was 3 that were more distinct. One of them has no context at all. Makes no sense. So I'll start with that one just because it was a weird one and very interesting and visual.
Is it a cactus-shaped dog toy?
It wasn't actually, no. So it started off, there was was in this infinite mass of nothing that was like a pinky flesh colour. And there was a naked woman that was there. And then she elongated into a snake, flesh-coloured snake. And then the mouth of the snake opened up and then folded back on itself and became a vagina. And then I was travelling through the vagina, which then turned into a pink tunnel. But all this took like quite a little while to happen.
It was just like a rebirth.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. It made no sense at all.
Going
but
back
then
to the womb.
Yeah, and then
What's the snake? Well, I mean, you got Adam and Eve, the snake.
maybe, yeah. So that was something, and everything was very pink flesh toned. That was very short. It maybe I don't know, but it felt like it was only a few minutes. And again, though, this was the music that's playing that takes you different places, and when the song changed, then it changed again. So that was one very bizarre. And not really making any sense. Now, there was another one. This one probably maybe a little bit more relevant. So it was effectively so you know when somebody like draws a note or draws like a cartoon in the corner of a book, and then you can kind of flick through it, and it's like flick book. That's it. So this is how I viewed it. It was a flick book, but it was a 3-dimensional flick book. So it moved, and there was mine and Emma's child that we don't have. We don't have a child, and we don't have any intentions of having a child at the moment. And it started off as a baby, and it was growing, and then it started to walk and run as it was aging. And literally, I was watching this child like run and age from literally a baby to probably about 10 before it got cut out. And each split second was a different scene of a flick book, but the background would change on each one. So, one time the background would be they're at my grandparents' house, then they'd be at the park, then they'd be at school, then they'd be at my house, then they'd be on holiday, and each one was a different one. And on one scene, it would be a boy, then it would be a girl, then it would not be there. And it was just like super fast as they literally were like aging. And this felt like it did last. It felt like it was like a day. Just watching that like process of aging and the infinite variables of who and what they could have been, looking slightly different hairstyles, but they were still the same. Like you could see their faces were still mine and Emma's. And like I said, the gender changed, and then sometimes they just weren't there at all. It was just a blank. It was like a blank background. They were just like there was just an empty park. And that was obviously
so there was still an environment.
There was still an environment, but there was no child. And it was almost just like flicking through this like these like possibilities of like going forward. It was really interesting. I didn't get it. I didn't get any kind of conclusion. Same as what I'd mentioned before. I didn't get any conclusions on any of this, but it was definitely something that was visually amazing. Made me think about kids. I suppose it didn't necessarily make me want kids, but
possibilities.
Yeah, I think it just opened me up because I think for so long I've been like, no. In my head, I'm just like, no, that's not me. And then maybe it just. I know a lot of people over the years.
Isn't the serpent a sign of awakening? Because the serpent is depicted as being the one that helps Adam and Eve eat the apple from the tree. Now, there is a whole thing between the Adam and Eve and the snake thing of there's some basis to it that from where the story comes, but I can't remember off the top of my head after researching. But the snake symbolises because he's the one. He's not a bad guy. He's making them eat the apple so that because the apple makes them aware of what God is doing. Build it. It gives them awareness. Doesn't it? And they get kicked out of the garden as a result of it. So they've got the snake being, awareness of maybe you're coming to a point where a child could be an option, or maybe, something you should be thinking about a little bit more. Because we've had a lot of things going on in the world at the moment, haven't we, where like businesses are being threatened, everything's been threatened, but there's this certainty of, reproduction.
Procreation,
is always going to be there, and that can only be threatened by the fact you don't think about it until it's too late.
Yeah, just don't do it. Okay, and then I'll finish up the last one. Last one's a fairly quick one, and I'm probably more aware of why this one popped up. But so literally the day before, it was the day before we went off to do the trip. It's been going on over the last couple of weeks, but I've been helping my grandparents sort out their will. And I was there with the guy, and they were because it's a load of legal stuff and power of attorney. So if they're in a position where they're not able to make decisions for themselves, I make the decisions for them, as well as like any financial decisions. Like it's stuff that I do already for them. I sort all their bills out, I sort everything, but like I have to always pass the phone on to them, and they'll be like, "Yes, I'll let my grandson do it."
Yeah.
It basically just allows me to handle that. Because it's basically everything that I'm doing already, it'll just like streamline that process for me. And then obviously again, if they're ever in a position where they kind of aren't capable of doing whatever they need to do for whatever reason, I can just make those decisions as well as all the will. So their mortality has been something that's been kind of something that we've been very very, I don't know, it's just been very prominent, over the last few weeks, which is not ideal. I was raised my grandparents, and still see them every week. I see them a lot, and the fact that my granddad's like 82, it's not great because like he's effectively my dad.
Yeah.
And he's old as shit, and he's not going to be around forever, and that was something that's obviously on my mind quite a bit, and in part of the trip, I was seeing. It was from before I was born, basically. Back as I remember my granddad when I was very, very young, and it was my nan and granddad together, and they were aging backwards. Like everything was in reverse. They were still moving forward, so it's not like everyone was walking backwards in time. Everyone was still walking forwards, but it was just as if going forwards made you younger. Yeah, and that was how they were going. And my mum wasn't really in the picture a lot, and they don't really talk, and I haven't seen her for years. And my mum was kind of back there as she was younger, and then kind of getting raised by them. And it was like just a going back in time, but everything was still moving forwards. And I kind of saw a lot of stuff with my granddad, and it was more through his point of view a little bit more than my nan's. And kind of some of the things, I think, your parents are your parents, or your grandparents are your grandparents, and you don't really like analyse them for who they are and all these weird little quirks about them. And I don't know, sometimes you have to have a little bit more distance from them and spend more time with other people, and then you look back and you're like, oh, right, okay, that's what, you've got these funny little things, because you almost don't look at them as human, do you? No. For quite a long time.
They're just granddad or...
Yeah. And I've been very aware of some of his odd little quirks for a while, because he's got fucking loads of them. And it kind of, he's a very anxious person. He worries about everything, and like he's very negative, and he doesn't mean to be, but everything that is said is like, oh, what about it? He'll never say. He's never, he doesn't say anything good about me with my own business or anything. He's just like, oh, have you seen the gas prices are going up? And everything is because it's coming from his place of like
to care by letting you know.
Yeah, and it's just because he's worried about it. Yeah, and that's how he is. He's not an adventurous person. He's got social anxiety, and he doesn't know that, but he doesn't know what fucking social anxiety is. He just doesn't like going out with people. Yeah. And when he was a kid, this is something I found out, he used to fight every day. He would get into fights every day. And like it was just a guarantee. He would go out, go down the pub, and there'd be a fight. And that was just it. And that was his fucking life. And but that's obviously stemming from his like kind of fear and anxiety and threat detection through the roof. Yeah. And dealt with that by punching people in the face or getting punched in the face. And I don't know, it's just really weird kind of seeing that and seeing him a lot more human by him being so young, almost to the point of being at my age. And as if like, you know what I mean? Imagine if you could just go and know your granddad when he was your age. Yeah. Like you could just be a mate.
That'd be cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so you've got a completely different point of view of him.
I hope we get to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was really...
That's what's waiting, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it would be amazing. So it wasn't. There was no answers for me. It was maybe just insightful, and I think like like
There's not always an answer. I've not always had answers.
No.
I've always just been shown something to consider and then drawn conclusions myself sometimes.
I think it maybe just felt. It maybe just gave me a bit more understanding because also like I fucking love my grandparents so much, but they're really frustrating because they're old and like and I try and do a lot for them. And
It's the same with parents.
with anybody, isn't it? And there's a lot of frustration that I do carry with him, and I'm way more patient than I used to be with them. And I think maybe it helped give me a little bit more insight because sometimes I do just want my granddad to just be like happy for me to just be like just do something, but it's almost always manifesting as. Have you seen the gas prices? Have you seen how much is your insurance? What happens if somebody dies in the? I'm just like, fucking hell, what? Where do you have you ever thought of anything nice? Which and and I never say anything to him, but in my head it frustrates me. So I think it kind of gave me more insight into why he could be that way. So I suppose that's maybe a conclusion in itself, right?
So came to your conclusion 2 weeks later.
Yeah. So that was. There was loads of other stuff that was just mindless craziness.
I think we indeed need to do one.
Yeah.
A side by side gone one. Like, no carrying needed anymore with you.
No, I don't feel like there is.
Which will allow me then to have one that has no.
It'd make me happier to know that you're able to go through it fully yourself as well without you having to keep an eye on me, because that's something it doesn't stop me at all, but I'm aware that I'm like,
Am I a burden?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I was like, I don't want it to take anything out of it for you either.
Yeah, I think so. Well, there you go.
So, as always, do drugs, kids.
Oh dear. Well, that was a more emotional one than we expected. So there we go. It's good to have you back. It's good to be back on the Fridays with some whiskey. We've even got the pup downstairs, which has been a joy. Big old lump that he is.
Big boy.
Yeah, the big boy. So we're hoping now. So we're going to get intermittently between here and while we're down at BCB and stuff like that, so that your workload is reduced a little bit and a little bit less travel in your life as necessary. So we'll keep pumping these out for you guys. But if you have some topics again, let's get back to this. Topics you want us to cover, you need to put them in the comment sections. You need to message them to us. You need to let us know. Give us some kind of pathways to attack when we come into these.
Yeah, and we go in blind every time, right?
Yeah, we literally turn the mics on, the camera on, and then go, so, words.
Yeah. That's it. And I don't know, some structure is good. I think just having a real loose bit of structure it does help us.
We don't want to be too serious all the time either, so we're going to fuck around and I'm going to say inappropriate things as much as possible still, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, so that's a guarantee.
Well, yeah, when you were thinking about, you were talking about the nice thing in the park, and this is literally what we're going to end on because it's just ridiculous and funny. And you went, and sometimes there was no kid there.
Yeah.
And I immediately, and I reserved myself from saying it, wanted to say, but was there a paedophile in the bushes?
Still was. Still lurking.
So,
funnily enough, there was a van in the background with sweets
just
written on it.
sweeties, and the kids are all gone.
He had a net too.
So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this one. Let us know again. Comments, if you can review us on any site, please do. It makes a massive difference. So leave us star reviews, word reviews, whatever you want to say. I think you can leave us voice messages if you want to as well. We forgot to tell you about this all the time, but you can do it. I think if you go on there should be a link somewhere in the description that allows you to do it. You can leave us a voicemail, or you can go on the Anchor website where we're found, which you can literally leave us a voicemail that we can listen to, and it's saved on the Anchor site. So that'd be pretty cool.
If you're on YouTube, subscribe, comment, all the good
stuff. And as always, leave behind what was bad, bring forward what was good, and make it a great week. I'll catch you in the next one.
Toodle pip.
Blackout Central, dude.
I know, yeah.